Okay, so I'm really excited to introduce our first little quick talk, Grace Andrews. She is fantastic on the stage, and she is an anthropologist turned technologist, which always makes it really interesting. Yeah, she can't even figure out how to get to the phone there, but at Puppet, she is a technical solutions engineer. She always has interesting stories to tell. Please enjoy Grace.
Hello! It was significantly harder to get up here than I thought, which is really embarrassing since I work here. Don't judge me. All right, let's get started. Oh wait, wrong slide. Should I? I do. My slides aren't pressing. I don't have to have them.
People are running.
Once upon a time I was born. It was a surprise to everyone. Including myself. Hey world! I actually said hello world, and before I put Finn Bash! Exclamation point. Do you have a question, Mike?
I have a question. What do you do here?
Well, you can't ask me that question. It's a part of my presentation. Mike is my colleague. We are both technical solutions engineers. And that's why he asked me that question. I guess I can tell you that much. It's not like it's an FBI investigation. She just keeps standing there. Okay, so there's no slides. So imagine my face is the slide. Take it in. All right, cool. So we'll get started. When they asked me to speak today, I was really excited because last year this event happened. I didn't know it was happening until I was leaving work. And I was like, look at all of these wonderful humans that are new that I do not know who appear to be ladies. I was really excited. It was more women than I'd seen hanging out in the office after work hours before. So I was really thrilled to hear that we were doing something like this. And so when I was asked to speak, I said, oh my God, great idea. What am I gonna talk about? And they said, welcome the group. Talk about yourself, which, okay. But not just talking about myself, but talking about my journey here into technology and how I got to Puppet and what I think about women being in technology, which I think is evident by the fact that I work in tech, that I'm really pro women in tech. I'm on team women in tech. Hashtag, let's go. But, so I got started, I think, in a very unorthodox way, and that way was my father forced me in. I am the daughter of African immigrants, so we believe in education. And by we believe in education, I mean every other week someone mentioned something about how you should be grateful that we brought you to America so you could get an education. So I assumed that meant that we valued education. And so I used to do a lot of science and math and all the things that people are supposed to do, but then I would go home and do them some more because my parents said so. And then I would go to camps for them, and I would dissect animals that were really too cute to be dissected, and that was really inappropriate, but I still did it because they told me to. But I remember my most pressing memory of that time was when I did this ghost that I made with code. And I don't actually remember what the class was, or who taught it, or when it happened. All I remember is that the end product was a ghost. And when you pushed return, which I'm guessing wasn't actually return, we probably executed a script, but bear with me, I was in 4th grade, I didn't know what I was doing. The ghost would go all the way to the top of the screen, and then it would say, boo! So impressed. I was so impressed. I was like, look at my ghost. There were 30 other kids in my class who had the same ghost. So it wasn't like I had created a special ghost. My ghost didn't have like a really fabulous head of curls or, like really cute, like sparkly brown eyes. It didn't look like me. It just was a ghost made out of zeros and ones. But I was impressed with myself. And I was like, look what I made. And that was the beginning of my journey into tech. Even though I don't ever think about that moment now as an adult. When people ask me how I got here, I always say I got here doing IT. I worked in university computing help at my undergrad in Virginia because it paid a lot of money. And by a lot of money, I mean I paid myself $10 an hour when all other work studies were getting 6. So I was basically rolling in it. I was Oprah Winfrey rich. And so, with all that money, I had time to, of course, focus on my studies. But in all honesty, I got the job at the IT help desk because I was a person. Yes, we're all people, I get it. People are people too. People lives matter, I know. But what they meant by that was I was not the traditional technical person that was working in IT. So all my colleagues at the IT help desk were men. A lot of them were international students from, you'll never guess where. You'll never guess. I'm gonna give everyone one guess. Where do you think they were from? That was a great guess! That was very good, that was very good, very accurate. And so at least we were all brown. I was down for the brown. But, so it was totally, it was more represented that way. But it was all male, all Asian. They were either from India, or we had a few kids from Nepal, a few young men from China, and me. And for some strange reason, they really wanted to hire me. And I was like, well, excuse me, why? But they wanted to hire me because I was a person. The young men I worked with were great, technically. They could do anything you needed. It's like, oh, networking is not working on this university laptop. It'd be done. Oh, look, I need you to, ghost this new computer and put the image back on it. Got it. It was like, oh, this person lost their term paper. It is due tomorrow at noon. Can you tell them? They're like, yeah, by the way, you're gonna fail this quarter. Sorry about that. Yeah, so they weren't the most empathetic people on the surface, right? So they said, we need someone who can do the tech and who maybe has a heart that beats. I won that prize mostly because my best friend at the time, who was a computer science major, was also at the University Computing Help Desk, and she was the manager. And she was a woman, and she was a black woman, and she was also African, because there is a club. And she was like, you should do this. We need more women on our team, and we need women who can do the work, want to learn about the work, and also can speak to other people. So that was my real foray into IT. And so at the end of 3 years, I loved it. I loved my team. They were amazing young men. They did have hearts, I promise. And it was great to work with them. And I thought, had I stayed in the confines of there are no women in this space, if I had listened to professors who had told me that for some strange reason, women's brains can't process numbers unless those numbers are attached to tags that are attached to clothes that they're buying, or maybe their numbers on their credit card, I wouldn't be here, right? And so I think that women in tech it can be an isolating feeling. It can be different to feel different all of the time, especially if you have colleagues who work or peers who work on teams that are more gender balanced. But I gotta say, the reason that I really enjoy being in this space is because it's always interesting to find your friends who don't look like you, who don't think like you, who don't come from the same background as you. And I think that as a woman in tech, that's something I've gotten to do. And I really enjoy doing those things. And so that takes me to my role today. And that is that of a technical solutions engineer, which is where I met my friend Mike. Hi, Mike. But it's really great to be part of a team. And so I came on actually as easily one of the older interns that were here. HR won't tell me if I was the second or third oldest intern, because I think that's against the law, but I have a feeling that I was one of the more quote-unquote mature ones. And I decided to pursue an internship because I had spent a lot of time being conceptually technical. So what I mean by that is, I had run a startup with a friend of mine doing data analytics and data visualizations, which is my background, so sociology and anthropology, doing regression analysis, SPSS, R, all those kinds of data sciencey things. But I wanted to do something that was really unsexy. You heard that correctly. And so I was like, servers. Networking, you wanna speak to me. And so, as I did the Hillary Clinton shimmy into my new career, I thought, what's a great way to really get into that? What's a good way to start learning? And start learning things that are new and different and connected to things I've known about, but go a little bit deeper. And so as I decided to pursue that, it was really about people taking a chance on me. People wanting to show me what they knew. People wanting to teach me what someone else had taught them. And that's something that keeps me in tech. I had a slide that is no longer here. It's somewhere in slide heaven. But the slide had a few numbers on it, and the numbers stated that 25% of all people who work in technology are women. Of that 25%, 3% are African American or identify as Black women. I think 2% or 1% is Hispanic, and 5% is Asian. So those numbers aren't good. They're not for, I don't know who does math in here, but those are not the numbers. And that's also why it's really, really important for all of you to be here today, because you make the numbers better. You add to those numbers. And every time I look at that statistic and then I have a bad day, or I go to a conference and someone asks me if I'm the booth babe, someone did that, but I read him his rights in the name of Jesus. When you have those moments where it reminds you of the isolation, it reminds you, I actually am that small of a percentage of a larger field, I think it's really important to remember that representation changes everything. And so I'm so glad and so excited to see all of you here today, and I can't wait to see what you all create. P.S. If someone wants to recreate that ghost, like wearing Nikes, I would be truly, truly, truly moved beyond words. So feel free.